Welcome to the Scaleup Valley podcast, where we bring the best of the best to help you scale a business from 1 million to 1 trillion. Today's guest is Cristiano Englert, a doctor, entrepreneur, founder of an accelerator, and Healthtech Business Angel. Cristiano, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike. It's a pleasure to be here and to talk a little bit more about the health tech and the whole scene. So it's an honor to be here in the Scaleup Valley podcast.
Absolutely. Likewise, you have an amazing career and amazing story in the health tech space. And you also have a passion about how doctors can become entrepreneurs and contribute to a better health tech ecosystem, not only in Brazil, but across the world. But let's get to know more about you. And for the ones who don't know you yet in the community, feel free to let us know more about yourself and what you are doing.
Okay. Well, to introduce myself, I am a physician, an anesthesiologist, and also a ER doctor. My first years, I started my residency, my training on the ER. And then after that, I went to anesthesiologist. And right now I still work as an anesthesiologist in one of the great team here is called Sunny. It's from Brazil. And from the past 10 years, I would say, I was always an early adopter of technology. So I was an early adopter of those before the smartphones, those Palm Pilots, once when I was in New York in a rotation over there in Colombia. So I saw what they were doing with the Palm Pilots and all that. And that really inspired me, to become and to be an early adopter of the technology. And after that, I founded with some other partners an accelerator because I really enjoyed the whole thing of being a mentor as a doctor to health techs and also to startups. And but before that, into my team of anesthesiologists, we started a business actually to digitalize the whole data for anesthesia into turning paper into the iPad electronic medical record. And that was the first thing that we have done. And after that, I was introduced to the whole ecosystem of startups because I was really curious about what was supposed to do to start a startup, to start a business. And then after that, I kind of shift, after this business in my anesthesiologist team as a mentor, because I saw the whole difficulties, the whole challenges that everyone and every team has to start a business in healthcare. How do you need a network? How do you need to become this mindset of business? How is difficult to get that into, and how risk you have to take. And that's always something that's contradictory because as a doctor, you don't want to take risk. You have to be safe to your patient. And that's right. That's something that's really, really good. You have to be conservative. But on the business side, you have to take risks. You have to know people. You have to be open to the new ideas. So, and then after that, well, just to make the story a little bit shorter, I founded with my other partner this accelerator. I have visited places in Silicon Valley, Germany, Europe, some medical centers, medical innovation centers, and that really inspired me to bring that to Brazil and to found this accelerator that, well, the whole thing started over there.
Sounds amazing. So how you started to think about starting your own company, or how can we help doctors to start their own companies, and then starting up an accelerator, and later on also becoming a business angel in the ecosystem, kind of combining the investor hat with the advisor hat, and also being able to be part of those ventures and of that innovation, right?
Yeah, actually, at first, we started a fund, to an angel fund to invest in the health techs, and I started to invite some other colleagues, some other doctors, medicals, to put their money and also their smart money, their knowledge,
Yeah.
their relationship with the market and what they could help these startups. So we started this fund. It was really at a beginning I thought I had to. I always have this sentence. I had to drink 200 coffees, to get 43 investors. But that's something that's really a different mindset, because as a doctor, you have to, sell a little bit this idea or
Yeah.
convince other people to come with you and invest in and it was really a great journey, because we invested in 6 startups, and 2 of them we got some exits. Sorry.
Yeah.
One is Scaleup, that's the entrepreneurs from Portugal, Rui and
Yeah.
João. Rui is also a doctor, and they got really big during the pandemic. Of course, we got an early exit with them. And after that, we got an exit also with MedRoom. That's a great and one of the greatest Latin America VR technology startup, that they do the whole education. They teach medical students, and also they simulate those scenarios into the VR, into the virtual reality, and it's amazing what they do. And they got bought one of the biggest education companies here in the world. And and that was a really, really great journey. And after that, we had a center down here in the our tech park. It's called Technopuc. And it was a great journey. It is actually, because I learned a lot with that. I knew a lot of people, like you told. I have relationships, and I like to meet people outside of Brazil, like you, like Mike from Portugal. I've been to some events and meetings at Stanford. I've been visiting some accelerators at Austin during the South by Southwest.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, to have those relationships and to have these connections, because I really believe that those connections that are the ones that you personally you grow, and also you can get new business from that.
Absolutely. Sounds amazing, and really investing in 6 and having already 2 exits. That's an amazing track record as a business angel as well. And let's jump into one of the topics that I know that you are the most passionate about, and we understand after your intro and about after you shared your story, which is how can we help doctors to get into an entrepreneurial journey and adopting an entrepreneurial mindset and being part of the ecosystem as a founder of a health tech company. So what has been some of your conclusions, some of your thoughts about that?
Well, the first thing that I actually talked to my colleagues and other doctors, and also I am a speaker, and I like to share this knowledge, everything that I learned, and I still learning. I believe that you have to go outside of your hospital, of your box, of your, as an anesthesiologist, outside of the operating room, and try to know other people, try to know other markets, and go to other events related to business, to innovation, to tech, to learn other, get to know other courses. Because I think that learning, it's something that sometimes in the medical field, we're very focused, and that's good, on the technical part. Yep. We're focused on to know the next technology, the next medicine, the next procedure that we're able to learn, and that's excellent. But sometimes we kind of forget how to innovate, how to solve the problems, how to learn the soft skills. So I believe that as a doctor, as also a professional, the new doctors will be the ones that are into the tech, the AI, the digital health, how to learn more about the soft skills. So I think to start a new business, that's something that a lot of people ask me, how can I start? I have an idea. How can I start that? How can I start this new business? First, you have to execute. First, you have to bring people close to you that can help you with that. So I believe it's changing this mindset to learning other things besides medicine, besides the whole technical part, that will open your mind to those new things and to start a new business, perhaps.
Right. And really combining those three axes, kind of medicine plus tech plus business, that's also, even for the ones who come from a background that is not a doctor background, it's also a challenge. So they need to be able to ensure that there is a quality of the protocol, of the health treatments. They understand the business. They also understand the role of technology on building the business and improving the experience of the patient. So that's a complex puzzle, let's say, to solve in order to build a business in health tech, but at the same time very fulfilling, because we can see the impact that we have in the lives of millions of people, right? So if we make it successful, and the purpose, the why, is also super strong.
Exactly. And just interrupt you a little bit. Yeah. Sorry, Mike, but I think that's the purpose, our mission. I believe that treat each patient, and I really enjoy being a doctor, being a physiologist, to have each day, going to the OR, going to a surgery and calm the patient and relieve their pain, and going through the whole process of a surgery that's really, really complex. But also to be a health tech angel, to help other entrepreneurs, to also be an entrepreneur. I think you can impact much more people. You can impact the health, the whole health tech system, the whole healthcare system. So bringing those solutions, those innovations, connecting the dots, I think it's amazing. So it's something that it goes along with your medical career, but it's always something that really moves myself every day, to have this purpose, the why, like you said, like Simon Sinek, right. Always said, it's something that's really a very good journey, to be in this part.
Absolutely. And I was listening to a podcast, by the way, today, preparing for an upcoming guest from Dr. Anywhere, a scale-up in Singapore, conquering the Southeast Asia region, and was telling that healthcare is the second least disrupted sector in the world, so where we have more opportunities in terms of innovation after aviation. And it makes sense, because of course we need to be careful in this kind of sectors, because some mistakes can mean life or death, but the good news is there is a lot to do in healthcare, and a lot of opportunities for innovation, and also what he was talking about, especially in specific regions. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. There are small things, just improving the experience can already make the experience jump into another level. So that's why I jump into our next topic of our conversation, which is what are you seeing? What's next? What are the trends that you are seeing in the market? What are you excited about in terms of the health tech ecosystem?
Perfect. I really think that, yes, you're right. The healthcare, it's the least, and maybe, but not the last, I believe, markets to be disrupted, by these new techs, because it's a sea of opportunities, like you said, to improve the patient experience. And we have a lot to learn with the big techs. I always say that if you go into an Apple store, you can't get out of there with a device, because the experience into an Apple store is amazing. If you go into the Amazon, to the website and buy something, it's really, really amazing. How can you get those things into the healthcare? How can you transform healthcare? How can you transform the experience more tech and also more human? So Eric Topol, it's a famous cardiologist, and he says, and he also wrote a book called Deep, I believe, I forgot the name. It's about the AI and the whole revolution that AI will bring to the doctors. So he believes that AI is not going to substitute the human touch, the medical doctor, but it's gonna improve our way to make better decisions. The whole paperwork, the whole bureaucracy work that we do, that can be automatized. I believe that AI can work with us from that. So I'm really, really excited about AI, how it can, of course, with a little bit cautious about it, because sometimes I have to in science, in medical, we have to validate all that, and we have some previous cases on that. So I believe that AI is a very, very nice trend that we are aiming. It was going to help doctors to improve this human side, because sometimes you have to work a lot and doing those papers, doing the digital, the electronical records. That's kind of, it takes your time. It takes time from your patient also. So this whole thing, AI, I believe also genomics is going to be a great field into the biotech genomics. But of course, it's something that we have to understand more about ethics. Doesn't everybody want to know if you will have a chance or have a cancer, colon cancer? Of course, it's important. Of course, you have to do this, have to do prevention. But also, how can you work this mind after, a whole bunch of possible diagnoses? So it's really, it's very exciting, but also you have to question yourself, how much do you want that? And third, I believe that the whole digital health, I've been seeing a lot of startups, like I said, once Nutrix, from Entrepeneur of Switzerland. She's working also in accelerator of Chile, but they are with this device that can measure cortisol, can measure glucose into the saliva. It's really, really new. It's a very amazing device and whole platform. I've been seeing those startups, mental health startups, even using AI like Woobot from Andrew NG, that it helps postpartum depression with a chatbot, with an AI algorithm that helps patients. And you can increase, you can dispose that for a lot of other patients that don't have access to psychotherapists, and they are already approved by FDA. So I think those are the topics that inspire me, the digital health, the whole genomics and AI. And of course, medical devices are growing a lot. You have echocardiograms by your palm of your hand. And well, it's amazing, this whole revolution, and how it can improve the patient experience, the process into the hospitals, the pharmaceuticals companies. This whole ecosystem is going to be changed by the way tech is doing right now.
Exactly. And how do you see the role of the incumbents or the large players in the healthcare market, like the hospitals, the big pharmas, and so on? And I know that at a certain time when this all started, they became a little bit defensive. I think that they now are much more active and being part and trying to collaborate with startups, and also understanding that sometimes it's easy for innovation to come from outside than to create innovation inside, or at least combine both sources of innovation. And also, given your experience with accelerator, etc., but also with the startups being able to go B2C, but a lot of them going B2B and needing to partner with those large players. What are your thoughts on how it is progressing, and what is their role and their reaction to innovation?
Yeah, since I've been in this health tech market from the early days, 5-6 years ago, and it was a different setup, at least here in Brazil, in Latin America. I believe that, yeah, the vision of those companies are changing, because to be paid and to work only with the revenue from the patients, from the procedures, it's something that sometimes is going to end. It's the fee-for-service payment. You have to go from the fee-for-value payment that brings more value to the patient. How can you introduce that? And that's a whole discussion on the healthcare insurance companies, the hospitals, and the whole ecosystem is changing right now for that. And to make that, you have to have more data, you have to have more innovation, you have to bring tech into these companies. So of course the hospitals are changing a lot, because they are embracing much more the innovation, the startups relationship. And we saw that in our accelerator. By the way, it's called Grow Plus, and also the Health Plus. Of course, I'm in transition to another business right now, to be more than as an advisor, as a health tech advisor of those startups. But I believe when I did that this connection between hospital and startups it's really incredible. It's difficult because you have to put another thing into the process of a system in the hospital that's already very complex. So it's not that easy to go to do this soft landing of a startup inside of a hospital. It's really demanding, and the entrepreneur sometimes gets really it's a kind of relationships kind of fuzzy, but I believe that at the end it's a very win-win to both. The big pharma also are changed because they are seeing that their own business of producing new medicines, producing new drugs. Sometimes you have to produce new service. You have to put this whole journey of the patient and to put this process as digital. So they are also looking for startups, looking for the next big thing, because it sometimes takes years, 10, 15 years to develop a new drug. So how can you come up with new revenue models, come up with new digital models to embrace this whole journey? So yes, those incumbents, the whole ecosystem, even the medical universities, the medical centers are also trying to see another way to educate the medical doctors, the new doctors, to this digital mindset. So yes, I saw 5 years ago, and I believe that right now we are in this growing process of this changing mindset that everyone wants to innovate. Sometimes doesn't know how. Sometimes this is a tricky point, but to change this mindset is the first thing. And the next thing is, of course, and also the volume of venture capital investing in healthcare. Even right now on this winter of the startups, they are healthcare is a market that's always been very attractive because it impacts a lot of millions of people.
Yeah. Do you have any considerations about the Brazilian ecosystem and also the Latam ecosystem in terms of health tech? How is it evolving? Is there any areas that you are more excited about at the moment?
Well, the Brazilian ecosystem, Brazil is one of the greatest markets in the world. We have more than 200 million population, and in healthcare, even here in my state, Rio Grande do Sul, in Porto Alegre, it's a very healthcare centered. We have 2 or 3 best hospitals in Latin America, and the whole Brazil, São Paulo, have one of the best 2 or 3 best hospitals in the world. So yeah, it's a very good scenario for healthcare. We have a great public system, but of course with these difficulties, especially difficulty on funding, but it's a system, public system for everyone. And also the private markets really is not as big as US or even Europe perhaps, but it's a very big market itself. And the tech part, the VCs are starting to look into the Latin America, and also we are building here startups that are thinking globally, that they want to reach other scenarios, want to reach other markets. So yeah, I think it's a very good moment. And also hospitals, we have tech centers, we have those like Cubo at São Paulo. We have a great hospitals called Albert Einstein here in Rio Grande do Sul, Hospital Moinhos de Vento and Mãe de Deus and Santa Casa are great hospitals that are working also with the research also with the innovation part. And I believe it's a really growing market into the healthcare business.
That's really amazing, and we see that US startups try to scale through the US, and the US is enough in terms of it's such a large market that it's possible to go to IPO without leaving the US, and we have a lot of examples on that. I feel that Southeast Asia is also very focused on scaling and becoming leaders in the region. We see also what you were saying, the majority of the entrepreneurs in Latam try also to be regional leaders in that space. Europe is a little bit different in the way that the majority try to jump into the US to scale up at a certain point, because we know that the cultures are so different and the regulations and so on, that it takes a lot of work and a lot of time, which is something that if we want to have a VC-backed company, you have less than a decade to build an entrepreneurial business. So time is and speed is also an important factor in that sense. But you still think that there is space for Brazilian entrepreneurs and Latam-based entrepreneurs to think global and to connect with other hubs. What are your thoughts about it? What are you also working or building in order to help that and facilitate that to happen?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I believe that sometimes when you focus so much on your local market, it's good because you can grow fast. It's good because you can, share all those products and service with your partners in the same language. But you can lose so much because I've been doing this research and I've been connecting also as a frequent travel. I like to travel a lot. I like to know a lot of other countries, and I've been doing that from the past years. And right now I've been focusing on this new platform that connects, all those healthcare hubs. And I believe that's a really, really win-win game because you can learn much more what's happening at Florida, what's happening at Los Angeles, what's happening at Texas Medical Center, what's happening in Europe, and you can inspire other people. You can also bring perhaps startups that are really, really great in US to Brazil, or Europe to Brazil, or the other side. You can bring our startups here from Brazil that want to launch their product. Why not in the US? Why not in Europe? So you can't just focus on your local market. And you have, of course, at first you'll do that, but why not we can bring those whole hubs together, those business and create more opportunities. And in the healthcare, I believe that's really, really amazing because we've been doing that from the past 10 years, into the research, into the tech space, inspired by those hubs, but how you can really collaborate and bring those things into the practical part to inspire innovation and also to connect and perhaps join a little bit more and gain more scale through that.
And when we will release soon an episode with Fernando, the founder of and CEO of Alinea Health. And this is a good example of what you are talking about in the way that some of the business angels of Fernando have built the benchmark that he is building in Brazil in the US. So having a business angel that has been gone through building a business and scaling a business that you are trying to build in the new region, of course you will need to adapt and understand the local market. But anyway, just having anyone who understands the industry and who has been through the journey, it helps a lot. And this is the kind of connection between ecosystems that can help. And something that I'm seeing with some founders in Brazil, it's something amazing, which is it's okay for the Brazilian leader or the Brazilian player to speak with the US player, with the European player, and they are not trying to attack each other, but just trying to exchange experiences and help each other to grow even more. Of course, if we come into a moment that there is competition, we need to, of course, to be respectful and to be honest with each other. But I think there is still a lot of opportunities for collaboration in that sense, because especially in the initial stages of the company, right? Until Series A, Series B, it is very difficult to have enough capital to go into another regions, let's say. So it's possible to be in other countries within the same region, but it might be we might lose focus if we try to be everywhere, let's say, and we know that focus is critical to in terms of starting up and in terms of scaling up.
Yeah, it's actually you reached a perfect point to focus, and this whole connection. Yes, we're inspired with a lot of benchmarks, examples from from US, from Europe, even here in Latin America. But how you can connect those, how you can transform this inspiration, this whole awareness into real business, into advising, like you said, advising startups. Why not a startup from Brazil have advisors from US, from Europe, and I think it's a learning process.
Vice versa.
Yeah, and vice versa, of course, because we consider ourselves here in Brazil a very entrepreneurial people and creative. I don't. We have a very good technical, and we are very rich in this part of, as human feelings. We are creative about music, arts. So I believe that also Brazil has a lot to inspire and also to connect with those startups outside of our market here.
Absolutely. That's definitely a great point, and I can see. And we are seeing also that especially the Iberian scale-ups are super interested in scaling up across LATAM, and we have a lot of examples. I think it's working better still for Spanish scale-ups going into the Spanish-speaking LATAM countries. I think that Brazil, it's also very well respected from an Iberian and European standpoint as being the largest market in the region, and where there is a very strong opportunity, but at the same time with a lot of respect, because we really need to be able to localize, to have local advisors, to have local people understand the market. So if not, it's very difficult to get into the market and to be able to build a big player there. Of course, you are with an exception, for instance, that two Portuguese entrepreneurs with Zen Club, which were able to move to Brazil and create an amazing mental health player across Brazil. But definitely a lot of opportunity here. Is there, before we move into the last segment of the show, is there any other tips that you have been observing across health tech founders, or best practices in terms of, fundraising, company building, culture, founder traits? So any other tips or lessons learned advising other founders?
Well, we don't have those crystal balls, to do it right. I think that sometimes the healthcare, we start, aiming the B2C market, to help a lot of people, and that's really amazing, this purpose. But I also believe that the B2B market's really something that can grow your company faster, because you can get better revenues, you can reach a lot more people. So it's a tricky point, because you have a lot of startups that aim to the B2C but have to invest a lot of marketing, and startups that aim to the B2B, but they it's this slow process of selling, it's a slow process of getting this revenue. So you have to get this market fit of your product, how much it will go into the B2C, into the B2B, and how you can get through and validate this product, this market fit. I think is really, really important in healthcare. You have to validate as a research, as a scientific thing. That's really important, because you can't scale with a product that doesn't work, that perhaps doesn't make better for people. So in healthcare, you have to be conservative on that. You have to validate your product. If it's a digital product, you have to do and follow also those rules in each country, FDA and Visa here in Brazil. And so you have to get this thing done, and after that, go sell, because you have, even if a service, it's a product. And to sell is something that sometimes for a doctor or for healthcare people, it's not that easy, because you don't have that on your day-to-day basis.
Right.
That's why sometimes the best healthcare startups are not the ones that have doctors, that have people that are into the healthcare market, because they're not used to do that. So our people that comes from other markets that are used to do the selling, the whole business thing, and they get really good into the healthcare market. So it's those three things. You have to validate your products, from business side and also from the scientific side. You have to get revenue, of course, because only get the investor money, only get the venture capital can put yourself in a bubble. If you don't have a product that sells, you don't have a product that's useful for the people, it's useful for the patient, or even for the hospital or the client, it's not going to work. So you have to worry with that before getting the funded. I think it's a real rush. Oh, I have to have funded. I have to go to the series A, B, and C, at least at the first part. But why don't you worry with your product to really have a good service, to really have a good market fit, a product that can help your patient, help your client, even if it's a hospital or a healthcare insurance plan or any other space. I think that's the first thing you have to deal with and to think of.
Kind of the basics, the fundamentals, right? The NPS, patient outcomes, and of course the unit economics, understanding the CAC, the LTV, the channels that might work. So how we acquire new patients, and at the same time, in this kind of models, there is also the doctor, and even in some models, the health coach or other professionals or healthcare professionals. How do we attract, and how do we ensure that we have a value proposition for both sides of the marketplace, depending on what is the business model that we are talking about? Of course, it differs from company to company.
Yeah, and when I say doctors, I'm generalizing also to the other healthcare professionals, physiotherapists, nutritional, nurse, all kinds of healthcare professionals that wants to go into this entrepreneurial set and to found a company. You have to take all those whole playbooks, to start a good company. And also you reached a very, very important point, to get better patient outcomes. How we can do that, how we can improve the patient's health. That's something that's our own health also. That's something that's really should be the focus for each health tech.
Awesome, great reflection. And we come into the moment of the show where I ask a quick question, and you give me, please, a brief answer. So the first three will be very self-reflective questions, and the second three would be much more resources to share with the community. So if you would have the opportunity to meet yourself at the beginning of your journey, becoming more an angel, more an ecosystem player, more a founder, and in complementing your doctor let's say, what advice would you offer to your younger self at the time?
Take more risk, but also get good people around you, and also to take risk, but to be more smart about that, or just don't go and throw yourself into the sea without help, without other people, a mentorship, even to the legal advice or any kind of other advice. But sometimes it's hard, as a doctor to get those risks and to go and found something, and also to go to this entrepreneurial whole world. But I believe that it's what's the word in English? Well, you have to balance all those things.
Right. What are you the most proud of on your journey so far?
Well, like I said, I think I'm proud of the startups that we have invested. I'm proud of the company that I have invested in, that I have created in the past years. I'm proud of the next thing that I'm creating. I'm proud of sharing knowledge and also being a professor at MBA here, and to share knowledge with other healthcare professionals, other people that want to learn about more about that. So, and of course, I'm really proud of the career that I have changed myself, because the thing that really sticks with you is your mindset, to being able to challenge yourself, to be able to be learning all the time. Like I'm going to Berkeley to do a venture capital program just to learn more and to see how we can improve ourselves. I like to be as an advisor, and that's something that really wakes me up every day, to know other people. I'm proud of having this relationship, these networks, that it really is something that, to have this human connection is the best thing that you have on the end of the day.
Amazing. Worst advice ever received?
Worst advice is, this is not going to work. You're being crazy. This is not going to work. I think that's, it's not an advice, but of course, sometimes you have to take care, to balance yourself,
classic.
But it's a classic, yeah.
But that's a good classic that all entrepreneurs need to go through, or all the innovators need even to go through in order to build something new. Also, as I like to say, there is no failure, there is only learning. To learn a lot until we finally succeed. And again, success is temporary, because there is another lesson.
It's a cycle. Exactly, it's a cycle. I think it's temporary. Sometimes you're on the up side, sometimes you're on the downside, but you have to face that as a cycle, and you also have to change your cycle. That's something that's it's amazing, and it brings you up again.
It's always feedback. Favorite book?
Can I sit two? I have one. It's 0 to 1 from Peter Thiel. It's an early investor. And I think it's kind of it's a playbook, for the new business. I also like Principles from Ray Dalio, because it talks a lot about the human side. It talks a lot about what are your principles to gain, better things and help. So those are two books that I really enjoy reading and reading again.
Great ones. Favorite movie or series, if you prefer?
Well, I've been watching two series as an entrepreneur side. One is the Super Pumped, from the Uber, and it's really it's amazing, the whole story, but how you can lose yourself in during this process sometimes. Right. I have watched the Terranos series, The Dropped Out. Okay. That's also it touches that point how you have to validate your product. Especially into the science field, have to validate that. And so are the latest series that I have watched.
Right. I really enjoyed the way you phrased it even before in the podcasts, to validate the scientific component of the product and the technological or the business side of the product. Very important in healthcare.
And also an old series, of course, everybody knows, it's Mad Men. Mad Men, I think it really stimulates the creative side, those advertising people, and how they can embrace the other side of the business. So I think it's a series from the past that's really interesting also. And it have a little bit human touch, philosophical touch. It's a more old series, but it's a classical.
Right. And finally, your favorite podcast, excluding this one?
Oh, of course, Scaleup Valley. I've been listening to it. It's really amazing.
Especially after Cristiano.
Okay. I really liked the one is Acquired, are from two VCs from Seattle.
Okay.
And Acquired, they put the whole entrepreneurial side, and they tell into the really details how a great company grew, how a great company started their business. Of course, a little bit long, 1 hour, an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes, but they go into the VC world, they go into the greatest companies, and I think it's a very, very good talk about that. I also enjoy some of course, some Brazilian podcasts here. One's called Astella Playbook. They are two also venture capitalists that talk about their business, investing, and interview interesting people. I also like Adam Grant. It's a psychologist from Harvard. He go into the personal side, and I think that the name of the podcast is Life Balance, I believe. So it's a really good podcast from Adam Grant.
Love it. Cristiano, it was really a pleasure to have you on the show, and you are more than welcome to come to future episodes to keep sharing your journey, helping others to start up and scale up, especially healthcare professionals, given your why, your purpose. Thanks so much for making the time and for being with us today.
No, it's an honor again, like I said, and thank you. And for the whole audience, you can reach me out on LinkedIn, and we can share, some knowledge, share the newest trends, and also very good to know other people and know how to connect that. So thank you again for the opportunity, Mike, and it was a great episode.
Thank you. And to our community, as you see, we keep bringing you the best of the best, and always a multicultural perspective about the tech ecosystem in different regions across the world, Latam, US, Europe, Southeast Asia, Asia in general, Africa. We need to improve on the coverage, we know, but we try to give you all the angles in order to understand what the best are doing out there, so we can all together be able to do a larger impact. See you soon and keep scaling.